Simon, we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about every game being a grand final, must-win game, so to notch off 2 points at a tough place historically for the Panthers in Whitehaven on Sunday must have been really pleasing.
Yeah, Whitehaven's never never an easy place to go. Always a tough game up there, and it was quite plain sailing, to be honest. The travel and that can be contentious. I've done it before. We've arrived 20 minutes before kick-off because we've took a wrong turn or whatever, and that has hindered us. But yeah, we got there in good time, decent day, not much traffic on the road, and here we got up there and nice weather to play rugby in, and I thought we did a pretty good job. First half, penalty riddled, really. Having looked at it again, yeah, we deserved some of them. Some of them, you know, they were doing the same things to us but not getting punished. But sometimes it just goes that way, doesn't it? And that, I thought that kept Whitehaven in the game. Second half, we cleaned that up a bit, and then obviously we pulled away then and we did a good job of it. So yeah, 2 points in the bag and on to the next one now. And you know, every game's important, it always is. But for us now, it's always the next game's the most important, because if we don't win that, it puts us in a bad spot. So we've just got to throw all the eggs in this basket and get after Toulouse this week.
It's another game of two halves, like you say, a bit scrappy in the first half, penalty riddled, as you said, then kicked on in the second half. It's another game where you've not really put in a full 80-minute performance. Do you feel like that's still doable at this point in the year?
I don't think anyone ever puts in a full 80-minute. That's just like it's a mythical thing people talk about. I don't think there is an 80, but you don't have to either. We didn't play an 80-minute game against Featherstone on either occasion. We've beaten them this year, and we still got the points. But you have to be good for significant parts of the game to get the goods. So when we were still better than Whitehaven. I felt considerably better. But for our penalties pulling them to our line, and we took them out of the game. And we showed the difference between us. Yeah, are we going to be an 80-minute team? Probably not, no. But if we can put it together for long enough, that when the opposition have their say, we've done enough to give ourselves an opportunity when that comes around.
You made some changes to the team. You went back to your first choice spine with James Wilburn-Hall at fullback, and then obviously your half-back partnership of Jouffret and Keys. Are you pleased to be able to get those three playing together again, and do you feel that the combination's starting to fire like it did at the start of the year?
Good to see them back together. I thought Pickers was he's unfortunate because I think he's done a great job for us, but I do feel that Wood is probably the best fullback in this comp, and he's been great for us, hasn't he? He was good at weekend, a little bit rusty, lung rusty as well. It's different when you're playing fullback as opposed to in the line, but did they fire at the beginning of the year? I'm not sure he even got fired at the beginning of the year, so it'd be nice to see him fire in the next few weeks, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think that's probably something we'll stick with. And I thought they did look well at the weekend. We played a game which invited them onto the ball quite a bit, which is something we need to improve on. You
made more changes as well in the pack. Brandon Moore dropping out and Tom Inman coming back in. Firstly, what was the thinking behind leaving Brandon out, and how do you feel Tom went on his return to the side?
Well, left Dan Murray and Brandon out, and they've been involved in the start of games recently, starting games, and we haven't been doing it. So they paid the price for that, to be fair. That's just how it goes when you've got people and competition ready to go. And Tom's been unfortunate not to play on numerous occasions, but rightly or wrongly, trusting people, you know, in players through relationships over time. And Tom's been hard to leave out, but I just felt like we can't leave him out again. I can't go and tell him you're not in when other people still have not done the job. So he's gone in and done a good job, and hopefully Brandon's a little bit fresher after a week off. It's tough all year, and it's tough when you're that small in the middle when everyone wants to run at you all the time. So a week off won't do him any harm, and it won't do Diz any harm either. But I thought we started the game, it had its desired effect fast, to be fair. I thought we started the game well in terms of our punch, and obviously not in the discipline sense, but we controlled it. It was a controlled start. We were good in the ruck and on both sides of the ball, so it had its desired effect. But you know, we ain't got injuries, I don't think, but we've got the walking wounded, as you do at this time of year, so we'll just have a look at it all again tonight and see how that looks.
Did Tom's return to the side come at the right time, would you say? Obviously we've seen in the last day or so Adam O'Brien be recalled from his season on loan and return to Huddersfield, losing a hooker there. Obviously you've still got Carl Wood, but is that a good time to put Tom back in with Brandon, where you can sort of dovetail those moving forward to
none
the
of us
side?
Could see that coming. That's their prerogative, it's their player, the loan system, that's how it works, unfortunately, at times. The timing's not ideal for us. It would have been nice to have Adam around for the rest of the year, because I do think he's added a lot to our group, and his performances have shown, you know, what he's capable of as well. But Tom played a couple of weeks ago for Cass, tried to keep him ready, and then he did himself world of good at weekend. I thought he enjoyed it. He's learnt a bit watching, as you do, and sometimes when you're young, you're that eager, you just want to be out there, and you have to be patient as well. And he's been patient, and he's been good to be around, to be fair. He's not sulked. He's sulked a little bit, but he's not sulked too bad, which is fine. If he were sulking, he wouldn't care, would he? But yeah, he deserved his spot at weekend, and to be honest, it would have been hard, very difficult to have left him out this week anyway, but often things happen and things open up for you, don't they? And that's some of a learning process for him as well. As a young bloke in the team, you've got to be patient, you will get your chances, and as I say, he'd have been hard pressed to lose his position this week anyway. But yeah, it's opened up, hasn't it? So we can't really worry about what's not here, we'll worry about what is, and I think we've got two very capable hookers there in Brandon and Tom, who've been playing recently, and obviously got Woody who's still plugging away in the background. You
mentioned no injuries came from that Whitehaven game, but we've obviously, can we get a report? We've seen Kevin Leroy return to the 21-man squad, which means he's obviously close to contention. Jake Mason we've seen in a boot in recent weeks. Can you give us an update on there too?
Yeah, Kev's got a bit of a knee issue. It's been ongoing for ages. He got that looked at and got it drained last week. Something going on in there, and he feels a lot better for that. He's obviously not played since the final, so he's quite fresh now after a few weeks off, which is good. And Jake, funny one. So Jake got the HIA against, I forget now, was it London? London, wasn't it? And then in training, in his return to play, just innocuous, rolled his ankle, blew up. So that's kept him in the stands, but he'll probably be in contention next week, I'd imagine.
So moving on to this Saturday then, like I said at the start of this interview, every game's a grand final from here, and if we want to keep things in the majority of our own hands, Toulouse Olympique coming to the Shay, it don't get much bigger than this. The only full-time side in the Championship. What are you expecting from the Frenchmen when they come to the Shay this Saturday?
They're a big side. They have a French style. They move the ball quite a bit. Some very talented players in amongst it, but it's not David and Goliath in terms of what they are and what we are. Yeah, they might be full time, but I don't think there's too much between us when we get it right. Over there, we should have beat them over there. We started terribly, got ourselves back on track, and then I can't remember the exact bit, but I think we touched ball less than 10 times in the second half, which or maybe we completed less than 10 times whatever we had. I can't remember what it was. We just didn't give ourselves a chance, and I think if we can keep hold of the ball and play at the right areas, keep their threat, because they're good with the ball, they move it. If we can play them down their own end, close at their own try line, it's less of a threat and it's less stressful defending it, as opposed to give them all the possession and you're camped on your line, it gets difficult. But we've got nothing to fear, mate. And we have got a bit to lose, but I don't want to approach it with that sort of mindset. We haven't got to lose. We've got to go and give our best game and throw everything into this one, and hopefully we come out the right side of it. I do think we're capable. I do think we showed some good signs at the weekend of how we'd like to play as well, which is good. So that was good practice for us. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not going to heap a load of pressure on the lads. They know what it is. We don't have to talk about it too much. They're all looking at the table and all the rest of it. So we'll just worry about controlling what we can, which, as it was last week, for me, one big focus will be controlling the speed of the game and having it on our terms more often than not, and starting the game really well, and that'll give us a good footing to go from.
We've spoken in recent weeks as well, in past interviews, about desperation and teams that really want it more, with us sitting in, I think it's the 8th position at the minute, climbing, trying to gain every advantage we can towards those playoffs. Toulouse, cemented in second place, can't go any place higher, can't go any place lower. Is there maybe a bit of thinking that they might sort of be looking further down the line and rest some bodies?
Yeah, possibly, and that'd be a question for them, and I suppose you could only answer that after the game. They might use that as a reason. If they win, they lose, whichever way you look at it. But if I were in their position, if they're a healthy squad, you're there, you've got yourself in the playoffs, but I'd still want to make sure I was a solid part of them playoffs. So momentum being a big thing, and team selection. So you've got lads playing for jerseys. So I don't really think they're going to be overlooking us and putting their feet up, for a few weeks, because they do that, they'll get themselves in a difficult spot in terms of form and whatnot going into them finals. So we'll prepare for the best version of Toulouse we can, and prepare ourselves, for the best version of ourselves as well.
And in recent years as well, the Shay's played host to some fantastic games when all the chips have been down, everything's been on the line. Halifax teams have really stood up and performed when it mattered most. You must be hoping that the fans get behind the team this week and make it a real cauldron of atmosphere and spur the boys onto what would be a massive 2 points at this point of the year.
Yeah, I think the fans will be. They have been, and we have been able to pull it out when when the chips are down, as you said. But I don't think the chips don't have to be down for this team to play well. Yes, we've been inconsistent, but one pivotal part of that team that's not been there all years is Joe Keys, who's come back, and he provides a management style and a calming influence on the team as well. So I think that's going to be beneficial for us moving into these last few. But it is a big game, there's no denying it. If we can have everyone behind us and supporting us till the very last minute, that'll be great. And I think that's probably what it'll take, because they are a good team, and it's not going to be us giving them a hiding or the other way around. I don't think it'll be that way. I think it'll be a good contest, a good physical game, and we'll have to be really good to take the points.
I know you said you didn't want to put any pressure on the lads, but do you feel at this point of the year, with everything, the way that the league's table's sitting, is it a lose and out scenario at this point?
I don't know the exact mass of it, to be honest, Faz, but I do know the teams that are battling for that fifth and sixth spot, 7th, 8th, those are in that mix. They play each other. There's a few games around hitting each other, so who knows? If you lose, you might get another crack. I'm not sure. But at the same point, I don't want to be thinking that way. We want to look after ourselves, and that's the idea all along, Faz, where control what you can, and that is putting in our best performance to try and get the points. And if we do that for the next 3 games, I think we're a very strong possibility of being in that 6. But the other 2, Keighley and Swinton, don't matter at the moment. We've just got to make sure we do a good job in this one.